When I started playing Counter-Strike, I went from an absolute beginner to playing at Facet's highest rank while queuing 99% of my games solo. Solo queue can be an absolute nightmare. You'll constantly be matched with throwers, extremely toxic teammates, and people who just decide to leave. For a lot of players, this may prove to be too much and ultimately quit playing Counter-Strike altogether. I'm going to share with you everything you need to know in order to push past all the BS that happens in solo queue and achieve your elo goals. Welcome to the Ultimate Solo Queue Survival Guide. Learning how to be as impactful as possible is the fastest way to start winning more games. To start doing this, we first need to understand that for both CT side and T side, not every position influences the map equally. A great resource made by Harry Richens from HLTV.org shows an average HLTV rating for each professional CS player and common positions they play on CT and T side. A link to both these graphs can be found in the description. Before we start looking into these charts, if you're not an opper, I highly recommend removing oppers from the filter. What we'll notice when we start analyzing the remaining results is that the best players in the professional scene are often playing the same roles. For instance, Donk, Twist, Zentaris, Nico, and Rops, and also countless other high-level pro players are playing Connector on Mirage. Similar to this, these same players are playing mid on Ancient. These same players also have some of the highest HLTV ratings in the professional scene. Some of you may presume that this is happenstance, but I highly doubt that these tier 1 teams are just putting anyone in these spots. Rather, these teams are opting to put their best players in the most optimal positions to have the biggest impact that they can. With that said, we can leverage this information to help our solo queue journey by starting to learn how to play these spots. I don't recommend that you just queue up and start playing positions that you have no idea how to play, but rather begin with a little research and go from there. There are a ton of resources on YouTube where other high-level players dissect exactly how these players go about playing these spots. But honestly, in my opinion, the best way to learn these positions is to simply find their demos and start watching them. You can search up VODs from pro matches, or you can just go on Faceit, find their profile, and start downloading their demos. If you're confused on how to watch demos, I posted a video recently covering exactly how to do so. Link to that will be in the description. Another important concept to understand is impact kills. Depending on when and where you kill an enemy will influence how impactful it was. For instance, if you're grouped with your team and everyone decides to rush B, getting that entry kill for your team so they can take site is far more impactful than if you were to catch a timing on an A rotator while you lurk palace. And I know what some of you are already thinking, but Ryder, my teammates are baiters and they won't even take site, let alone trade me. And to be honest, that's a fair point. But what I recommend to counteract this is to always be grouped with your team on T side. Regardless of what your team's objective is, even if it's not clear to begin with, simply being with your team as a fight breaks out to help influence the direction of the round is the single most impactful thing you can do as a T. Once you fully adopt this mentality, you'll quickly realize that being the most impactful player on a team doesn't always mean you'll have the most kills. Besides, I'd rather have 15 impactful kills in a win than 30 meaningless kills in a loss. Before we go any further, we need to talk about Blackjack. Trust me, this will make sense. There's a reason why Blackjack, or otherwise known as 21, is one of the most popular games played around the world. Other than it being one of the more entertaining and straightforward yet complex table games, like all casino games, it's a game that the player is designed to lose. Even the most knowledgeable players that play the card will win approximately 49% of the time. With that said, the house, aka the casino, will win 51% of the time. This is what keeps the casino in business. The more hands you play, due to the law of averages, will result in you losing money and the casino winning. The reason why I mention this is because this is the exact mentality we should approach solo queue with. And no, I do not mean be a degenerate gambler, I mean we need to be the house. There will be games that you're absolutely destined to lose regardless of your impact. Similarly, there will be games that you're absolutely destined to win. You need to understand that you can't win every game, and that's okay. You don't have to. Whether you're playing on Faceit, Premier, or Competitive, climbing is done over the course of hundreds of games. The higher the win rate, the fewer the games you have to play. But just as long as we're always striving to have a positive impact on our matches, we're destined to maintain a win rate over 50%. And yes, I am considering the games where you have someone intentionally throwing, griefing, and being toxic. So much so that your team loses all intention to win. But what's important to remember, that just like you have these teammates sometimes, they're also going to be on the enemy team. In fact, they are more likely to be on the enemy team than yours. This is because you're the common denominator. What I mean by that is this: as long as you are never, and I do mean never, the player who is throwing games or being toxic, you're inherently putting your team in a higher probability of winning simply due to the enemy team having a higher chance that someone on their team isn't guaranteed to throw, grief, or whatever you want to call it. For most of us, solo queue can feel like a coin flip, but the honest truth is, it is. It's a coin flip that, if played right, will have you winning over the course of several games. This is why never playing tilted is so important. If there is even a chance that you lose your composure, blow up on your teammates, or even do something as simple as lose focus, you shouldn't play and simply take a break. Before we move on to something else, I want to share something with you that I discovered while I was creating this segment. This is Donk's Face It profile. Arguably one of the best players in the world, and if we take a closer look, we see two things. One, he's played a lot of CS. And two, even with being the best player in the world, he has a win rate that is in the 50% range. No one is ever going to be the exception to the coin flip nature that is winning and losing in CS. Not even Donk. Let's talk about something a little more gameplay specific, utility. More specifically, flashbangs and smokes. A player that is creative and capable of using these nades is able to be self-sufficient when it comes to making plays. Due to the nature of solo queue and how you can't rely on teammates to throw any utility, let alone good utility, being able to pop flash for yourself and throw smokes that allow you to catch the enemy off guard is paramount for a successful solo queue climb. Before we get into the specifics on how to throw a good pop flash or a useful smoke, we first have to understand how nade physics work in CS. There is no get good quick scheme for throwing useful utility. However, a sure way to speed up the process is to enter an offline map and start becoming familiar with how nades are thrown. And I don't mean the basics of how to left click, right click, or middle click nades, but rather develop a better feel for the trajectory of these nades and how they work. Once you're in an offline map, spend some time throwing nades around, whether it be flashbangs or smokes. Challenge yourself to land smokes or flashbangs on the fly. This doesn't mean creating an infinite amount of lineups around every map, but rather develop the skill to throw whatever smoke or flash you need at a moment's notice. Austin CS made a video covering this in detail a few weeks ago, which I highly recommend you check out. A link to that will be in the description. I also highly recommend doing this on a regular basis during your training routine to strengthen this skill and fast track your improvement process. Now let's get into the details of what makes a good self-sufficient flash, or a pop flash. I've outlined a few rules that you should follow in order to consistently throw good flashes. The first rule is to give the enemy minimal time to react. A flash that is on the enemy screen for too long will often result in them turning away. This is especially true in higher elos. Think about who you're trying to flash and how you can minimize the time for the flash to be on their screen. A good way to do this is to right click the flash, point it straight upwards, and move in the direction you want the flash to land. The second rule is to wait for the bang. A good pop flash will give the enemy minimal time to react, so we can assume they won't look away. With that said, if we don't give our flash enough time to pop, we'll either be walking into an enemy fully ready to kill us, or at best, that was blinded just moments after they've seen us, which will often result in us dying after they hold down left click and start praying. Lastly, stop throwing useless flashes. While I was climbing, this was something that was pointed out to me by several coaches of mine. Myself and other people that I was matched with in lower elo often threw flashes that served absolutely no purpose. Whenever you throw a flash or any piece of utility, make sure it has a clear purpose that accomplishes something. This is especially true with flashes. If you don't plan on swinging with it, or assisting your teammate to swing, don't throw it. Think about how many times you've been fully blinded and you thought to yourself, thank God he didn't swing. Now for smokes. Learning lineups for smokes that assist your team in executing sights, gaining control of the map, or limiting the information given to the enemy team is good, but something that helped me tremendously during my climb was learning lurk smokes for every map. If you're unfamiliar with what a lurk smoke is, it's a smoke that allows you to catch the enemy off guard. A prime example of this is a smoke that I found incredible success on Anubis. From outside B main, I'll throw this smoke which lands just in front of B. Because of the design of B site, the B players are forced to draw their attention to both sides of this smoke, because of which they have to give up B box. And if they don't give up B box, walking through the smoke on either side will often result in a free kill since CTs will rarely be expecting you. I first discovered this smoke from watching Stu's stream. Be advised, once you burn a CT once with any lurk smoke, expect them to be holding you next time. But at the very least, you'll be getting a solid chance at an opening kill. If you mix this with other lurk smokes, which you can find everywhere on YouTube, you'll find countless situations where you'll catch CTs off guard. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to personally say thank you, and if you want to and you want to support the channel, please leave a like. It really helps out. And because you've made it this far into the video, I'm going to rapid fire a few more tips that really helped me climb while I was solo queue. First, don't be afraid to be a leader. The nature of solo queue is very chaotic with little to no direction from either team. Being able to step up and make calls for your team can be the difference between winning and losing sometimes. Second, mute toxic teammates. There's absolutely no reason to expose yourself to toxic teammates that want nothing more than to get under your skin. If they aren't providing any necessary information during a round, or if their toxicity outweighs their usefulness, then just mute them. Also, CL mute enemy team 0 will mute all communication from the enemy team, so if you have some keyboard warriors you're playing against, it'll shut them up. Third, constantly change how you're playing. Be unpredictable. Being unpredictable is the best way to keep the enemy guessing and to keep you in the advantage. Play different angles, throw different utility, play aggressive sometimes, play passive sometimes. Whatever you do, be difficult to read. Fourth, and this is probably the most important, don't be discouraged. I've experienced countless losing streaks during my journey. The best way to remain motivated is to just trust the process. Wins will come. After all, the house always wins. At the end of the day, surviving solo queue isn't about winning every game. It's about pushing through all the bullshit and not letting someone or something stop you from reaching your elo goals. If you follow the advice I gave you in this video, I promise you'll be better set for not only playing better, but winning more games and having a greater impact on all your matches. Thanks for sticking around for the entire video. Before we close out, I want to say thank you to all the RyderDie YouTube members. You guys continue to give me a ton of motivation to keep making content and improving the content I do release. Also, I want to say thank you to everyone that subscribed. These past 3 months have been absolutely insane and we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. Also, last thing, if you're looking for your community to join, be sure to click the link below to join the RyderDie Discord. There you can find people to game with, show off pictures of your pet, or just hop into chat. Anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.